Good morning to you, friends. Hope you are doing well. The headline on CNN, outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. So I guess the question is, why are you outraged? For me, I'm outraged that that U.S. citizen was using her car as a weapon and driving towards an ICE officer, forcing him to kill that U.S. citizen. So I want to get through all of this because there's a lot here. I mean, you've got the emboldening of these folks in Minneapolis and all across the country, the emboldening of U.S. citizens to go out and do everything that they possibly can to stop ICE from doing their jobs. You know, peaceful protests don't actually mean using your car and trying to stop ICE from driving down the road. That's not what a peaceful protest is. Now, am I upset that this poet, Renee Good, was shot and killed? Yeah, it sucks. Was it senseless? Absolutely. Was it preventable? Absolutely. She should not have been using her car to try to stop ICE from doing their job. Now, here's the deal. They told her, and if you've seen the video, follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. I've got a number of different angles from yesterday's shooting. But I'm telling you, the officer, at least to me, didn't seem to have much of a choice. Now, I will give it to you. And by the way, this is falling along political lines. Everybody knows this, right? If you've noticed anything, you'll notice if you are anti-Donald Trump, then you believe that this was murder. If you are pro-Donald Trump and pro-ICE and pro, getting a lot of these illegal aliens out, well, then you understand why the shooting happened, because she was driving towards a police officer, an ICE officer. Now, and if you watch, I've got the video here on Super Talk TV. She goes into reverse, and then as one ICE agent has his hands on the door handle, by the way, they've already told her to get out of the car. Just so you know, they've already told her to get the F out of the car. So she already knows that she's supposed to be getting out of the car, and she is not listening to the commands or demands of law enforcement. So she backs it up. Then she starts driving forward, and that is where she, unfortunately, is driving right towards the ICE officer, who opens fire and hits her apparently 3 times in the head. Now, I'm going to say this one thing and know that I understand why the ICE agent felt like his life was in danger. However, I am also going to say that if you look at where the ICE agent is, which is near the driver's side bumper, the front of the car, right? That's the bumper.
Front fender.
Fender. Is that the fender? All right. So the front of the car, the fender. She is making, or at least it looks like she's trying to make a hard right turn. I can't tell if she's trying to avoid him. I don't know exactly what she was trying to do. But the bottom line is that the ICE officer isn't looking at the tires. He's overall looking at this woman as they are telling her to stop, and she's driving right towards the officer. And so you're going to have a lot of people who are going to say that this was, an unnecessary act of force by the ICE agent. But I will tell you, I'm a supporter of ICE. I am a supporter of Donald Trump, and I'm a supporter of law and order. I see how that ICE agent didn't have much of a choice.
Well, and you bring up a point no one else has really been talking about since this happened yesterday, in that what he is looking at is someone behind the wheel,
right,
with no idea what she's going to do when she starts moving.
Right. So if you look at the tires, she's making a right turn, but he's looking at in fact, he may have been, Sam, he may have been so close to the car that he actually couldn't see the tires.
No, I think that's because he's already looking down his line of sight at her windshield.
Right.
And then the second angle on the second half of the clip, I think that really shows he's out in front.
Yeah.
He might be positioning himself out of the way, but he doesn't have that time to make that decision.
Can I ask this question as well? Everybody is saying, oh, this woman has a 6-year-old. Oh, the tragedy. She's actually got 3 kids, Renee Good, a 6-year-old, and 2 other kids. Now, when my kids were small, and now I've got Riker, who is 12 years old, but if you've got little kids or kids generally speaking, you have absolutely no right to be putting yourself in danger. You have an obligation to your children to stay safe. Now, if you want to go out, you want to, right to protest and free speech and all of that, do it on the sidewalk with your sign. But this emboldening of criminal behavior by the American people is courtesy of people like Tim Walz and Gavin Newsom and all of these people on the left. Now, there is a lot to this. I got to tell you that, and by the way, I would love to hear your thoughts, and we're going to take some phone calls. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. If you're interested in actually talking about this as opposed to utilizing the super text line, you want to call up right now, I'd love to take your calls. 615-737-9986. Super text line is open as well. But here's the deal. When we talk about the emboldening of this criminal behavior, free speech does not entail using your car as an avenue to stop ICE from doing their jobs. Tim Walz was in rare form yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
We've been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today, that recklessness cost someone their life.
Okay, so, I mean, look, I can do this all day long. You want to talk about recklessness, Tim Walz? What about the recklessness of government officials basically emboldening and encouraging people to go out and try to stop ICE from doing their job? Now, listen, I'm not victim shaming. But what I am saying is that, because I don't, revel in the fact that a woman was killed. I don't. But when I see all of the demonization of ICE, and when I see all of this nasty rhetoric regarding ICE and how they're, Nazis and just all that crap that we always hear, then you hear the rhetoric from these people that are in public office emboldening this criminal behavior, then yeah, I would say that is reckless. I would say that what Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey and many others on the left have been saying about Donald Trump and ICE has been reckless. And then you gin up all of this, anxiety and anger in people in your party. And these are the things, unfortunately, that happen.
To Minnesotans, I say this. I feel your anger. I'm angry. They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully, as you always do. We can't give them what they want. And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government.
Really? Could have fooled me because, listen, you still got a whole bunch of people from Somalia that are there. And by the way, let me ask this question. Why do we have this big surge of ICE agents in Minnesota, in Minneapolis? Because word is through, investigations and so forth that up to 50% of those Somalians are here through immigration fraud. And who's that on? Is that on ICE? No, that's on Minnesota under the clearly not so careful watch of one Tim Walz, the Attorney General Keith Ellison as well, and of course, you've got Ilhan Omar. So don't just sit here, I would say to Tim Walz, don't just sit here and play Mickey the Dummy and say, oh, ICE is bad, and I don't know why in the heck they're here anyway. You know, Governor, exactly why they are here. It is because of all of the fraud, immigration, and otherwise that has been going on in your state, which, by the way, in my opinion, you've had a hand in. That's why ICE is here. the words that he's been using in this speech from yesterday, dangerous, conflict, a threat to public safety, talking about ICE, those are, let's be honest, those are words that are going to embolden anger and fury in the people on his side. There's John in Smyrna's on WTN. John, what do you think?
Good morning, guys. I'd like to give you my narrative of what I saw. The first officer approaching the driver's side was engaged with the woman inside. She starts to roll forward slowly, and the other officer on the passenger side walked over in front of the car. Now, he's positioned somewhere in about the middle, about 10 feet away from the bumper. So he slowly moves over, but she's engaged with the officer on the door, and she goes to lunge forward to get away from him, not realizing that officer is now about headlight, lined up with the headlight of the front of the car. He starts to pull his weapon when she starts to be aggressive. Now, you see these other protesters always sitting on or leaning on the hoods of these Border Patrol vehicles, trying to stop these Border Patrol officers from rolling. Mm-hmm. She engaged and pushed the gas, realized in front of her that he was there, and sharply turned the wheel, and that's when he discharged his firearm. He protected himself, but she saw him at the last second and turned hard right to avoid him, but he's already engaged and she's already made the aggressive moves. He had every right to shoot her because he had no idea that she was going to quickly turn that right turn.
That's exactly right.
I think it was a justified shot.
All right, John, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is Tim in Nashville on WTN. Tim, go ahead.
Good morning, Dan. If the left would quit harping on us and just do what an officer tells them to do, then we wouldn't have these problems. My father taught me growing up, if an officer tells you to, give you your license and registration, you do that. Just do what you're supposed to do. The left is ginning these people up, your term, and that's where all this is coming from.
Well, you're right, and as I said in my monologue, Tim, if you've got because everybody's upset because this woman has a 6-year-old kid who is now, they say, going to be an orphan. Well, okay, but that's not ICE's fault. The woman put herself in that position. The woman made the cognitive choice to use her car to try and stop ICE from doing their job. That was the choice that she made to put herself in a dangerous position, and unfortunately, she messed around and found out, and she lost. And Tim, I appreciate the call. Very quickly, Maggie in Nashville on WTN. Hey, Maggie.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Dan. So this is a very hard situation. I think I'm an immigrant. I'm a permanent resident from Germany here in the United States. I stay away from all of this, no protest. And you are right, the left, they spread so much hate. You should never interfere, with the police or with ICE agents to let them do their job. She, unfortunately, she made a bad decision and it cost her her life. I saw the video. To me, it seems like she want to run into the officer. I'm not sure. But there is so much hate from the left, they constantly attack these officers. It's really sad. I traveled all over the world. I come in and out of the country. I never had any issues. I renewed my permanent residence. Under the first term of President Trump, I had no problems. And I also say this, when you come to another country like me, I'm a guest here, even I lived here many years, you need to follow the law. If these Somalians doing fraud, and fraud is the number one thing you get deported for. Obviously, they don't understand the immigration rights when they apply for status in the United States.
Well, and Maggie, I appreciate the call. I got to run, but you're right on a number of different fronts. And these folks, why, again, I'll say, why was ICE there? ICE was there because of all of the rampant fraud. That's why the Trump administration has this ICE surge. Here's a little bit more from Tim Walz.
To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. Mm-hmm. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight.
Wow.
We will not take the bait.
So that is Tim Walz. I've got about 4 more audio bites from him from that incredibly divisive speech, and we'll listen to some of those coming up here after the news with Jay Harper. Real quickly, because I don't want poor Patrick to have to wait 20 minutes on hold. So, Patrick, go ahead. Murfreesboro, how are you?
Good morning. I've been in law enforcement in Middle Tennessee for over 25 years, and hands are typically the most important thing to watch when you're dealing with anybody who might be a threat. So looking at tires is ridiculous. Second, I've seen this over the course of my career, news stories where we have an incident and we get the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more to this that we don't know, and everyone, I know y'all have to talk about it, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. But everybody just jumps to opinions and lives in their vacuum and hears what they want to hear, sees what they want to see, but they don't see or get all of the facts before making a decision. It's frustrating.
So Patrick, when you look at it, what would you say about whether or not the officer, based on your experience, was justified in shooting? Would you say it was self-defense?
I intentionally have not watched the video because I don't want any bias before all the facts come out. I've just read several different news stories, listened to several broadcasts, listened to several different radio shows about it, and to me it sounds like we don't know enough to have an opinion.
Well, here's what we know, Patrick. What we know is that she was using her car to try to impede ICE from doing their job. She used her car. She was stopped in the middle of the road or the intersection, blocking ICE. She was told to get out of the car. She would not get out of the car. She intentionally tried to drive away, and she was driving towards a police officer who then shot and killed her. The video very much spells that out. So I don't know. Let me ask you this, and I don't want to fight. It's way too early for that. But so are you saying that I shouldn't be talking about this, or I shouldn't be forming an opinion? It seems to me like all the evidence is there. It's out there.
No. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about it because that'd be ridiculous. And based on the information that you have to be able to talk about it, I get it. Like I said, I understand it. I'm talking about the masses as a general rule tend to just jump on board whichever train they ride.
Yeah.
And beat the drum, and they don't have all of the facts for it. Like, we don't know what authority does ICE actually have to stop traffic. I'm sure they have it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, here's what I would say, Patrick. Number one, I mean, if you want to talk about authority, we can. I mean, there's federal authority. They have federal authority to enforce federal immigration laws. I mean, they do. I don't know what the case number is or whatever, but I'm sure we can find that in about 5 seconds. What were you saying off? You told me in Q, Sam, something about the laws in Minnesota where they have got to stop if they're pulled over?
It's pretty much every state in the country has an implied consent law. When you get your driver's license, you make an agreement with the state that you will comply with peace officers, and mandatory compliance during traffic stops in Minnesota is a thing. And obedience to signals and listening to lawful commands is one of those. Yeah,
and here's the deal. I get what Patrick is saying. I do. I understand that is the world today. But when we talk about, and this is where, Patrick and I probably, may agree on this. You did have Jacob Fry. You did have Tim Walz. You also had Kristi Noem. everybody within the administrations on both sides were jumping onto the conversation as well. But here's the deal, Patrick, is that, and I appreciate the call, the video was out there, and we all know what was going on. I mean, it's just the stories within like 15, 20 minutes, it was obvious what was happening. So I think, to be perfectly honest, I don't exactly know what else we need as far as evidence goes, because it is all out there on the video, multiple angles. And good morning to you, Jay Harper here, along with Sam Weatherford. Hey, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you want to tell me? Is there just anything at all you want to tell me? Just anything I need to know? How about you, Sam? Anything I need to know?
I don't know. It might be a bit on the nose to say it.
Because it has only come to my attention fairly recently that I have a red nose.
Really?
Yeah. Did you know that I had a red nose, Jay?
No, Rudolph, I haven't really picked up on that. I mean, it's kind of dark from, it's weird. Dan, in all the time you've been here, have you ever sat in this news booth and kind of observed things?
I've done many a radio show in that booth before they had other studios. But
okay. So, I mean, it's kind of dark. I can't really see you all that well.
7799 says this. And by the way, he or she is very nice. But it brings me to something that actually, for whatever reason, I'm 58 years old and I never realized. Dan, you look great. Nice hat, nice shirt. Thank you. Did you have your honey allergy remedy? 1 tablespoon of local honey per day, and your red nose will go away. Good luck. So I'm like...
Sounds like a witch's spell.
So Amy says to me the other day, hey, you looked really good today. Thank you, honey. Your nose isn't as red as usual.
So this is all like...
All of a sudden, in the last week, people are telling me that I've got a red nose. I don't understand. I mean, I didn't realize I had such a red nose. And then I'm telling Sam about it over the break, and he said, "Oh yeah, you've got your nose could, like, you know, if air traffic control ever loses their flashlights, just, you know, nod your head back and forth."
No, I said it looks like a strawberry on the ripening.
Much better, Sam. Thank you. So I didn't know that I had a red nose. So now I'm going to
see if Contours can do anything about that.
Hey, Contours, can you do anything about my red nose?
With your red light technology?
With your red light technology, they could probably make it redder.
Or shrink it.
And I said, honey, wow. I said, honey, what do you mean my nose isn't as red as usual? She says, you've got a red nose. And I said, what do you mean? Dan, honey, I love you. Your nose is red.
How dare you?
I said, okay. So, of course, now immediately I go to the bathroom to look in the mirror to see if I've got a red nose. I never watch the videos on YouTube of the show. I go to the show YouTube, and now I guess my nose is red.
Is that why you turn the lights down in there?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's so darn dark in there. You can't really see it.
I don't know. But I guess my nose is red. Whatever. Anyway, thank you, 7799.
I did put a picture of you into Grok and tried to make it into a little animated character, and you look like the Kleenex kid.
Anyway, thank you, 7799. I know he, she meant well. It's all good. I'm actually using that as a way to make fun of myself. I just, honest to goodness, I had no idea that I had a red nose until just now. So, well, not just now, but when Amy told me, I'm going to ask my daughter next time I talk to her, did you notice that I had a red nose?
Damn straight we did.
Okay, we got to move on. More on Tim Waltz, and real quick. So, because I do believe, and the super text line is on fire on this thing. I do believe, and protesters taking to the streets in several states, they were burning American flags in Minneapolis. Coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, we are going to, I don't know. We'll talk about some of the officers that were pepper spraying some of the protesters yesterday. I'm going to tell you that, and I this may be my own personal failing, but I don't like to see people get hurt. But when you are trying to abscond with an officer's gun or reach for an officer's belt, or you're putting your hands on said officer and or law enforcement, you're going to get pepper sprayed. It's just a fact. Jack. Anyway, here's more from Tim Walz.
This was totally predictable, as I said it yesterday, and it was totally avoidable. And I just want to remind you, too, that local law enforcement, we get no coordination. They don't tell us they're coming. They don't say why they're sending the largest deployment in American history.
The reason why they're sending the largest deployment in American history is because you have a massive amount of Somalis there that are accused of committing fraud, immigration fraud and financial fraud, welfare fraud, whatever fraud you want to call it. And that's why they're there. I mean, your state, Tim Walz, under you, has become a complete and utter train wreck. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota. We had the whole thing with 5 years ago. What was his name?
George Floyd.
George Floyd. How could I forget? Had the whole thing with George Floyd. Had all that going on as well. So, Minnesota has just turned into, under serious leftist rule, just a lawless mess. So, yeah, Tim Walz, that's why what's happening is happening.
To Minneapolis, they're not making us any safer. We don't have any of that coordination. They should be talking to us when we do these things. Let us know. We're going to be down here. This is going to happen. We don't have that. So when you see local law enforcement or state patrol, or if it would take the National Guard, we're there responding to the chaos they've created too. But our role is to make sure that we're protecting Minnesotans so that something like this doesn't happen.
So so apparently he's called out the National Guard now, Tim Walz has. So I'm trying to figure out, though, and you know what? Jonathan Fahey is going to join us here in the 6 o'clock hour. So I'm going to ask Jonathan Fahey, okay, so what is the role of the Minnesota National Guard? Is the role of the Minnesota National Guard just to keep people on the sidewalk and ensure that they don't get in the way of ICE vehicles as they're trying to do their job? I don't know. What I'm hoping, and I don't think it would come to this, but what I'm hoping is that, they're not put in a situation, the Minnesota National Guard, they're not put in a situation where they are in conflict with federal law enforcement and ICE agents. But, one thing that I'm noticing is Tim Walz actually not accepting any accountability for what happened. He is the one that has been demonizing ICE. He is the one that has been challenging the Trump administration. Of course, we could talk about the AG, Keith Ellison. We could talk about the mayor, Jacob Frey, talk about all these people. But he has been the one that has been stirring up the anger of the Minnesotans, as they say. And this woman, again, made the decision to do what she did, bottom line. So when everybody says, oh, this was so preventable, you're damn right it was preventable. And she shouldn't have been out there with a 6-year-old. By the way, Walz, no shock here, continues to demonize the federal government and ICE.
Well, I said this yesterday. We've never been at war with our federal government.
Wow.
I think the thing that is so challenging in the moment we're in is we don't see a desire to work with us on public safety. We hear a demonization of our state. We see people coming in who don't know our community. And we see this massive display for the TVs that we're trying to understand, how is this coordinated?
Mickey the Dummy. You ever hear of Mickey the Dummy? Do you know what I mean when I say that? Mickey the Dummy, somebody who just, refuses to admit, it's gaslighting, refusing to admit what has been going on in Minnesota. We don't know what's going on or why this is all happening. It must be for the TV cameras. No, Tim. It's because of all of the fraud, immigration, and otherwise that has been going on in your state that you have allowed. And the words about being at war with the federal government is, another indication that he is way out of line, Tim Walz. ICE was there because of the immigration fraud, pure and simple. When you allow your state to devolve into fraud and abuse of federal immigration laws, there is going to be a response. Do you know what happens? Do you know what happens when you have no response to, thousands of people breaking our federal immigration laws? Well, then they become emboldened to commit further fraud. And then people ultimately end up getting, like these folks from Somalia, people end up getting, collectively hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in fraudulent, ill-gotten gains because they're ripping off the government. So, yeah, there's going to be a response. In this entire speech from Tim Walz, in this entire speech, not once did he talk about people breaking federal immigration laws. Not once did he talk about the rampant fraud that is going on in his community. It's all just, I don't know why the Trump administration is sending ICE agents.
Bite my shiny metal
I
ass.
understand the uniqueness of this moment in this week, following this week, seeing what's happening in the backdrop of a show hearing in D.C. My job is to govern, and my job is to see what the facts are. This happened a couple of hours ago, and we're already pitting American against American. All of you saw a video in your eyes. We have a chaotic situation caused by the largest deployment in American history of.
Can I say this? So he's talking about how we're pitting Americans against each other, right? He's blaming the Trump administration for. Isn't that what he's been doing ever since this whole thing began? He has been pitting Americans against Americans. Instead of being a calm voice of reason, you've got Tampon Tim. Oh, I'm so divisive. Tampon Tim has not been a calm voice of reason. He has been divisive. He has been attacking. So again, at no point does he come out and say, don't interfere with a federal investigation or federal ICE agents.
Federal agents into a community with no communication to locals. We had a chaotic situation where an individual is in their car, shot and killed. And so.
All right, there you go.
Failed to mention the car was moving towards an officer that had given repeated lawful commands. Let's just omit that part.
He omitted everything. Everything was the fault of the Trump administration. Everything was the fault of ICE agents. The woman had absolutely no culpability or responsibility whatsoever. There's a woman, a witness, who, here it is. Let me play this real quick. There is a witness who says, I'm probably going to end up playing this a little bit later on, too. It's part of another longer segment. But I want you to listen to this woman who is a witness. Tim Walz wasn't, but this woman was a witness. And she says, she was definitely trying to stop ICE from doing their jobs.
They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm. So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah. Okay. That was her goal.
All right, so there you go. That's what she was doing. She was impeding ICE from doing their job with a 6-year-old, putting herself in danger, even though she had 3 kids, Renee Good, shot and killed, 37 years old. Never, ever should have been in that position in the first place. By the way, her wife, Renee Good's wife, said Renee Good did not want to be there. The wife, the Daily Mail had this whole thing. I've got the audio, but the wife of Renee Good, a lesbian, said that she made Renee Good go out there and take part in these protests against ICE. That's what the wife said. I don't know, but I don't know if you've seen the video. It is horrifying, and this is a true human tragedy. I know that I'm coming out strong, but this is truly a human tragedy. And so you've got the woman's, Renee Good's wife, crying on the sidewalk. She's sitting on the curb. She got a dog with her, and she's crying. And she says, our 6-year-old is at school. there are photographs of the inside of Renee Good's car, and she's got drawings from her 6-year-old inside the car on the passenger seat. Little, I don't know, it's a Barbie doll or whatever it is, little plushy things in the car as well. Clearly kids' toys in the car as well. She never should have put herself in that position. You have kids. You need to be a responsible adult, and if you want to protest something, you do it safely, and you do not impede federal agents.